Welcome to a weekly episode of Talk. We're your host, Eddie Marmolejo.
And Jaime Moreno.
What a week. My goodness. The Supreme Court goes, in my opinion, 0-2 in their decision makings. They have struck a decision on LGBTQ rights. And of course, as we learned today, they opposed Trump's decision to basically remove DACA protections from its recipients. We're also going to talk about the shooting of Rashad Brooks. Was it justified? We're gonna go and look into it. And then what about this cancel culture nonsense? I mean, really? Aunt Jemima? That's what you call this, Aunt Jemima? Oh, well, we're gonna get into all that, but before we do,
Before we get into those subjects, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We now have a Twitter account, so follow us there. We will be providing more content for you to review, to share with your family and friends, and to help us inform the public on the issues that matter to you and to us, right? So don't forget to subscribe. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can view this whole episode in its entirety. So with that, Eddie, let's talk about the Supreme Court's historic decisions this week, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe not historic in the sense that it'll be a legacy, but it's pretty significant, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the Supreme Court came out already with the decision on protections for LGBTQ plus, right? They added a plus now. And I know
do I dare ask what the plus is for? But
it's for the other no sé qué tantos genders they are now.
Okay.
I think they have like 70 genders now, according to
70.
I know. I saw a chart one day, and it was like
Progress.
there was someone who had like a gender on an arm was like pink, and the rest was blue, and like one leg was. It was just weird. I was like, "That's your gender chart, like gender chart." Sorry,
Right.
chart. But anyway, that's a whole different discussion. You guys can look it up yourselves if you're interested or just curious about the different many gender identity and asexual, bisexual, pansexual, transsexual, all that stuff. Now, we're not saying that, they're lesser people. We're just saying that we just don't understand how it's possible, but, with time we might understand, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, so Supreme Court grants protections under Title VII of the Civil Acts, right, of 1964, right? And Title VII pretty much says that no one in the United States can be discriminated against based on race, color, religion, country of origin, and sex. Okay. Those are the 5 categories, right, that the Supreme Court, that the law: age, race, national origin, religious belief, disability, sex, or veteran status, right? And those have been the protections by constitutional law, by the federal courts over the years since the enact of the Civil Rights Act, right? So they've, included protected classes, and you can read about it in constitutional law. The Supreme Court now protected under that same title, included LGBTQ plus, right? Now transgender male, transgender female, gay man, lesbian woman, pansexual, transsexual, all those people with different identities can no longer be discriminated against based on the fact that there's homosexuals or they're gay or lesbian. Sorry, I know homosexuals really offensive to some people, so I apologize for using that. I'm going to say gay, lesbian, or transgender, right? Or just the identity of your sex, right? Your gender identity. So the court says under the term sex, the word sex, it protects them. Now, this is a really interesting vote because 6 of the Supreme Court justices voted in favor of this versus 3 who dissented. Now, and if you don't understand Supreme Court rules, is you have 9 judges of the Supreme Court, and those 9 judges vote whether a law is upheld or removed or it's constitutional and so on and so forth. Because it gives a broad base of opinions. So when you have a 4-5 vote in Supreme Court, that means it's a split decision. that means that it's neither that it barely was approved or opposed, right, by Supreme Court. That means that this can be up for granted or it can be taken up to Supreme Court again at a later date because it was so divided that, they one vote could either gone one way or the other, right? Usually that's the rule of thumb for Supreme Court cases. Now, when Supreme Court cases have 6+ votes on a decision, that's pretty much almost sealing the deal. I say almost because it can still be challenged, right? Mm-hmm. But it's going to take a longer process to challenge that rule or to change that precedent. That's what we call it in constitutional, that precedent. So when the Supreme Court voted 6-3 in protecting LGBTQ people, it pretty much temporarily and sealed the deal on that decision. 6-3. That's pretty much like a majority really approved this. So unless one of those judges dies and gets replaced, right, that decision could be changed, but it's still going to be hard to change it because the Supreme Court's going to stick to the rule interpretation unless you bring a different reason why that law should not be upheld or why that law should not be used in the context that it was used this time. Okay, so hopefully I haven't bored you yet, right, with the way the constitutional rules work. So now let's get to the nitty-gritty. The Supreme Court pretty much said that the term sex is what protects LGBTQ. And the logic is that because LGBTQ community does not act or behave under what is considered proper, I guess you can say, or fits the description or the stereotype of that sex. So let's say in male and females, right? If you're a male, which is sex, you're a male, sex is your sex is male. You're supposed to be, I'm not saying supposed to, I don't want it to be interpreted that's the rules, but the stereotype or the assumption is that since you're male, you're going to be attracted to females, right? That's the assumption. And that's the context of a male. But when you have a male who's attracted to another male, it doesn't fit that category of sex. It fits a different category of sex. So on that basis alone, the Supreme Court ruled that sex, the word sex, and the way the sex changes categories is the reason why the LGBTQ community is protected under Title VII. Now, that's up for debate. I know a lot of religious people will be like, no, that's against our freedom of speech. That's against, protection of religion. Like, I'm a Christian. Eddie's a Christian too. Bible speaks about homosexuality and so on and so forth, and it talks about it. And we're taught that, homosexuality is a sin. That's what we're taught in church. So in a church environment of a nonprofit, finds out that one of its employees, let's use the most popular organization, is a Catholic charity, right? A Catholic charity, has an employee who is gay, or they find out is gay. The Catholic charity is going to fire that person because it goes against the religious belief of homosexuality. It's literally against their doctrine. This law is going to protect that gay man or lesbian woman from being fired, right? Because they're being discriminated based on sex. So this could come up to the court again, right? In terms of where do you draw the line between religious observance and religious rights versus the rights of LGBTQ, and where do those meet? The same thing happens with you guys always heard about the cake and the bakery, right? They don't want to make a wedding cake for a gay couple because they don't believe in that, and then they get sued and so on and so forth. So that's been the debate for 30, 40 years now in terms of that. So we'll see how this goes. So currently right now, the Supreme Court is going to hold that gay LGBTQ community is protected under the Title VII rules. How that's going to play out, how that's going to be implemented, and how that's going to roll out is going to be kind of tricky, especially when you have nonprofit organizations who are religious based and have the religious teachings, and they abide by their teaching, we'll see how it plays out in the long term.
And another way that you
legislate,
and it's not really legislation. It's like more you wash your hands and like right. Like we finally came in agreement to is the DACA. Now let's be clear. Let's be clear from the get go. Here's I don't know what your position was from DACA. For me was like, okay, fine. I understand you can't punish kids who were brought here by their parents. You can't send them home, and they, especially growing up here for so many years now. I get it. Fine. My original problem with DACA is that it was an executive order. Okay. That means it had no teeth legislative protection, because when the next president came in, as you saw, it was removed. And I said, so what was the point? I get the intention of DACA, but it was never really a protection, a permanent protection. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the court in 5-4?
Yes.
So the court today in a 5-4
split decision.
Yeah, it was a split decision. Decided that, and here's the funny part, they never argued whether DACA was unconstitutional or not. What they argued is that Trump kind of messed up in the procedure of eliminating DACA, so that why DACA stays again for another 2 years. So those that applied for DACA or basically their DACA expired, you can renew it again. And then I'm like, what's the point of this? What's the point of this? I saw people like, yay, we got DACA, and I'm like, yeah, for the next 2 years. So what happens 2 years from now? And you're saying,
seriously?
Well, you don't want people here? You don't want people? No, here's what I'm talking about. DACA doesn't solve anything. DACA is not immigration reform. DACA is not, it's something that can be removed now through, we need to figure out what the right procedure is, right? That's what the Trump administration is going to have to figure out. And it's going to come and be argued again in front of the Supreme Court once they figure out what that right procedure is. And I'm like, that's my point. You see, the thing is, when President Trump took away DACA, he said, no, immigration reform should not be done by the executive branch. It should be done by the legislative branch. So I'm going to remove DACA. I'm giving you time to fix it. And DACA is going to vanish.
Become something permanent.
Yeah. The problem with that and what the court argued today is that you didn't answer how is that going to benefit the government. That was basically Roberts, Sotomayor, what was the other two? Ginsburg, and I forget who the other one is.
Kagan,
yeah. Basically, that's what they argued, is that you don't show how this benefits the government. Just to say because it's a constitutional is too vague. It's too vague of a reason to why. So you have to give more reasoning. Plus, you didn't do the procedure correctly, and because you can't answer that, we're gonna say that DACA stays, right? And I'm like, so you mean to tell me, when I was making fun of Jaime, right? And I'm like, so you mean to tell me because we didn't file this correctly, DACA stays? And I'm like, really? This is
pretty much.
This is it. So. And Jaime just texted me. Jaime said, "See, I told you it was procedure." Like, oh, okay, bro. Can I read the opinion? And he's just like, "See, I told you." He's like, "Okay, I get it." So I read it, and then I read the dissent, right? And then Clarence Thomas, okay, says, "Yeah, you see what happened today in the court is that they didn't want to make an unpopular decision, right? Because it would have been unpopular to say, yeah, well." Guess what? 700,000 DACA recipients are now on the threat of being deported. I don't think nobody wants to say that, right? So they said they just pushed this down to a later date, right? They just pushed this down to a later date. Instead of saying the court should never heard this issue and let the branch responsible for this issue handle the issue, which he's trying to say that Congress should handle the issue, which has been Talks primal stance since the beginning of this show. We said DACA or any immigration reform should be handled by Congress. And I'm like, you know what you just did, honestly, too? You gave the Democrats a pass. Because I was like, yeah, the Latino vote, it's going to stay, yes. You know, it's going to stay. You know, because you're not, you just made Trump look bad because now he's been defeated twice in 1 week, okay? Okay, according to everybody. And it's kind of true. Okay, he was defeated with the DACA and he was defeated with the LGBTQ protections. And now Joe Biden, and then Joe Biden comes up with a tweet, I will someday. Someday. He didn't say within the first 100 days within his administration. I mean, when he's a lame duck.
Clever man.
Yeah, he's like, I will one day offer the protections to all immigrants in America. I don't know that quote's verbatim. Like, someday? See, this is what I'm talking about. What do you mean someday? It's been 34 years now since the last immigration reform. And Congress, I mean, the Supreme Court just said, let's just make it 36.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the next midterms around, we can argue this again. And I'm saying, so when is enough enough? This is what I was talking to Jaime. When is enough enough? I'm for the dreamers to stay. And if you don't believe me, there was a poll by Pew Research, right, that came out today. I don't know if it was today, actually. Let me confirm that real quick. It was June 17th. No, yesterday. So,
okay.
And they said, Americans broadly support the legal status of immigrants brought to the U.S. illegally as children. Okay, and if you look at between the Democrat and Republican polls, of course, Democrats were the majority, 91, and Republicans were 54. So that means the majority of Republicans understand that you shouldn't punish kids for what their parents did, and this is where Jaime and I are. So as I said, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right, but I'm like, you're not solving the problem. This is what I'm saying. You're not solving the problem. What the court did today, and it was funny because everybody in Telemundo was saying it. I was watching Telemundo. Everybody was saying it. This is a small victory, and we will enjoy it. But keep in mind, the best way to solve this issue is to call your congressman, call your senator, call your legislative powers, have them handle it. And I'm like,
that's what we've been saying here on MM Talk for the longest.
Okay, so we're all in agreement that it shouldn't be Trump, it should have been Obama, it should have been the court, it should have been Congress. You know, those people that keep that we made fun of during the primaries, who were like, all the majority of them were senators and former vice presidents. We had a former vice president, I don't know how many senators. Julian Castro, we're not going to count.
Who is that guy? Who is that?
So everybody but Julian Castro, right, had some influence, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, and Beto, I forgot about, but Beto was a representative. So, okay. So everybody but Julian Castro.
Who is that guy?
Had the power to fix immigration, and they still haven't. And they're still whining about it. Like, we're going to fix it. We're going to protect you. Okay, we understand that Trump is a racist, but we're going to protect you. I'm like, Joe Biden had 8 years.
Uh-huh.
Nancy Pelosi has been in Congress for like 30 years, hasn't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our side too. All we keep is trying to counter the Republicans, but my side hasn't done anything. Where is your plan for immigration reform?
Mm-hmm.
All I kept hearing was border wall. Oh, that's great. You're going to stop the illegals. Okay, what about the ones that are here?
Mm-hmm.
And Trump, he said, like, yeah, we're open to some sort of path decision. That's fine. Okay. But you're open. The problem is I don't want to hear from Trump. I want to hear it from
Mitch McConnell.
I want to hear from Marco Rubio. I want to hear from Ted Cruz, on Lindsey Graham. I want to hear from
Mitch McConnell.
I want to hear from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I want to hear from Veronica Escobar, who's always whining about immigration on Univision. But I'm like, so what are you proposing?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to work with Republicans, or what's going on? Are you going to wait for another Democratic majority? Well, guess what? Good luck with that, because when it gets to the White House veto, that's if Trump's still president, right? It's in 2020.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But that's my thing. So it's not that I'm against DACA, I'm against what the court did today. And that was basically add an extension to the problem. We'll deal with it later. We'll just wash our hands for now, because I'm not going to deport 700,000 people. Are you going to do that? No. Are you going to do that? No. Well, I know you're not going to do that. So, I mean, what's the point? What's the point? So if Telemundo's telling you that Congress should solve it, if MM Talk for Tuesday, Congress should solve it, if President Trump tells you Congress should solve it, if Supreme Court justices who wrote the dissent, all three, what was it? No,
four. Oh wait, what? Four.
Five, yeah. So 5-4. So all four of them tell me that it's Congress's job to solve it. I think there's a clear consensus where the issue should be solved. And this is why I tell Latinos, right? Tell Latinos in general, when you're trying to solve immigration, stop blaming Trump. Stop, and let me put it this way. Stop blaming the president. I don't care what party. Stop blaming the president. Blame the people right, who take a knee in kente kente sashes and all that, who are always trying to pander to you, blame them for not doing their job. And they're not going to do their job. And this is what I said. They're not going to do. I was telling my own mother and I telling my daughter, okay, so in 2 years from now, we're going to have this discussion again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that came out of my mouth. And what's funny is that in Telemundo, after they're all like, oh yeah, this is a great victory today, but we always got to remember that tomorrow Trump can rescind DACA again properly. And then what?
That's true. And that's the problem we've always had with DACA from the beginning. So we agree that, like Eddie says, we agree. They should stay in the country. If you're brought here as a minor and you grew up in the United States, you should have a pathway to citizenship. You pretty much are American. Right. We're not denying that. But what we're denying is it's unfair, like Eddie says, that you have to renew this permit, this permission to stay in the country every 2 years. So every 2 years indefinitely. That means that it doesn't matter if you're in the country for 30, 40 years under DACA, right? Let's assume that it lasts that long, right? You're never going to become a resident. You're never going to become an American citizen unless otherwise you marry an American citizen, right? But in itself, you won't have it. And that's unfair. And it's even unfair because in 2 years, let's say that you lose your job, you go through a financial crisis, and you don't have the money to pay the renewal fee, you lose it. It doesn't matter if you had it for 10 years. It doesn't matter if you had it for 8 years. You lose your DACA status.
That's what I'm saying.
You're out of the country. So that's even more unfair because now it becomes a financial, right? It's financial too in a way that, hey, if you don't have the money at the time, then, too bad. Or if you don't apply on time or you don't send the paperwork on time, even that will get you off DACA. And that's unfair, right? That's unfair because it's not a legal permanent residency. So like Eddie says, until Congress se ponga los pantalones, and I'm sorry, it's Spanish, but so they put the pants on, hey, this is going to be an issue. And Congress, Republicans and Democrats need to solve this issue now. They need to resolve this issue because it's a matter of, it's not life and death like they portray it, but it's an unfair and unjust process. The court did not say whether DACA is illegal or illegal.
Yeah, they didn't argue that.
They didn't argue that. That wasn't the argument of constitutionality, legality of DACA. They didn't argue that because they all agreed that the president has the power to rescind it because it's an executive order. He has, any president, not just Trump. It could be the next president, the president 16 years from now, and so on and so forth, right? They can rescind it. They can take it out. They have that power.
About it, that made no sense.
Yeah, the only thing the government needs to do is do the file the petition properly, file the paperwork, and then we'll consider whether or not you can remove it. Right? So it's just it's not a victory in the sense that you're here. It's just a victory that for now you won't be deported, but hey,
2 years from now, 6 months,
you can do it again.
So,
what are you doing? Get on it.
We'll figure it out. All right, so we're leaving DC and we're heading to Atlanta.
We're marching towards Atlanta.
So, on this one, I just asked Jaime. He hadn't seen the body cam footage. So what do you think, right? Mm-hmm. And he gave me his basic opinion. He's like, "Did you look at the body cam footage?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay, well, let's look at the body cam footage, right?" And we're talking about the shooting of Rashad Brooks. And the reason I said that is because I already looked at the body cam footage and I was already looking at reactions from people. And some of these things just never made sense to me. Mm-hmm. One of the things people were saying in comment sections when I was looking at different threads, why didn't the just police let him go? I mean, why? They could have just let him go. He would have gone home safely. He would have gone home alive. Okay. I'm like, okay, what else? What else? The police officer should have just tasered him. Okay, what else? And I'm looking at him. Okay, so like, does anybody look at the camera footage? Like, nobody looked at the camera footage. Okay, so I have the camera footage. We're gonna screen share this. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not gonna play all 6 minutes. I'm gonna get to the most important parts, right? And then I will play the part where the the confrontation takes place to the shooting, because that's the most important part. And I want to pause it. I'm gonna go detail real quick, right? See, and boom, okay, and you see the ending. And then you guys make your opinions and please put them in the comment section. But I think you already know where I'm gonna side with. But anyway, let's look at the video. Let's screen share here. Let's go to the video here. Share. Okay, so this is where the Wendy's is, the parking lot. Now Rashad Brooks is in this white, it's a Corolla. Well, I know it's a Toyota.
It's a Camry, no? That's a Toyota. It's a white car. Let's just say white.
It's just a white car
for the sake of argument. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not gonna play the audio. I mean, I don't know how it's gonna turn out, so I won't play the audio. But here we go. So here's the body cam footage from the officer, right? Goes to see Rashad. You can clearly see he's in the
Drive-through.
The Wendy's drive-through. People say he wasn't even in the drive-through. Well, you can clearly see he's in the drive-through. He's passed out. See him right here. Here's his head. The man is passed out. He's knocking on the door. And let's listen. Actually, let's try to see if we listen in.
He was actually able to.
Yeah, no, we can't. Okay, so and he's waking the officer up, right? Okay, he tells him to go park over there, and then right, he goes in there. He starts asking him where were you going? He's like, I came from my daughter's birthday party, and so on and so forth. He's like, well, let me get your ID. We're gonna confirm your identity. Standard operating procedures for a police officer, right? And then if we move a little bit forward, second officer arrives, flashes his lights, and then this officer and the other officer basically brief each other as to what's going on. And then he tells them, so what's going on? And then they basically tell him they're going to take a test. So for 20 minutes, as you see right here, he conducts the sobriety test. And then that's where he tells them,
isn't that what Brooks is saying, that he can just go home safely, that he'll be fine?
Yeah, he'll be home. Yeah, well, home safely. And then the cop right here asks him, hey, you want to take a sobriety test? Okay, so at this point, everybody's fine. No confrontation. Nobody is doing anything wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
The officer right here is asking him, hey, you want to take a sobriety test? And he's like, well, I don't want to refuse, right? So he's like, so all I'm asking is like, yeah, so I'll take a sobriety test. Jaime, can you tell me what the
Keep playing because you can't see it from here.
Huh?
Keep playing. You can't see the number. I think it shows.
No. Before, that's what I'm saying. Before I play the number, what is the level required? The legal level of alcohol you're supposed to have in your system in the state of Georgia?
0.08.
0.08. Okay, so let's take a look at Rashad Brooks's alcohol consumption level here. What does that say there? 108.
108. That's high.
So clearly, he's been drinking. He's like, yeah, I didn't drink a lot and all that. You know, my friend gave me some booze and all that stuff. You know,
that's
so
high.
Like,
that's really high.
Right? So that's high. And he's like, yeah, well, my friends gave me something to drink. I didn't drink that much. And here the officer essentially tell him, well, you kind of did drink a lot. So we're putting you under arrest. Now,
it's pretty much a DUI, right?
DUI. So every time in the DUI, you have to be taken into custody. So for all those that were arguing, let the man go, he was going to, okay. No, on a DUI, you have to be taken into custody. You have to go to jail. And I was
because
telling
you're
Jaime,
a danger on the road.
And I was telling Jaime, okay, so what happens when, let's say they did let him run, right? What happens if he gets in another car? Right? Takes over that car, but we're not even there yet. But let's see what happens. So let's go right here. So
just to make sure that we get, can you pause it?
Yeah.
If you ever been in a DUI, if you know someone who's had a DUI, or you might have heard a friend of a friend who has a DUI, you always know that when they're over the alcohol level in their blood or in their breath,
right,
with the breathalyzer, they automatically are under arrest because that's DUI. Right. And you
DUI,
can report. Yeah. The police does a report. They take your car. DUI. They put the level down and they take you to jail.
Right.
That is rule. That is the law. That is standard procedure anywhere. I want to say anywhere in the country because that's pretty much what happens. But I could say that's standard here in California. and that's standard in Georgia, right? I mean, he was 108. He needs to go to jail. Not that he's going to be rotting in jail, but he will be in custody, taken to prison, take his information, charge him with DUI, let him, get over his toxicity level. Someone picks him up, and he goes home.
Yeah,
and then he just fights it in court the next day. And I've helped people with DUI cases and gone with them to court and stuff. And that's what the procedure is. You get arrested, they fill in the paperwork, you get charged for DUI, and you get let go of prison the next day because you're a hazard to the road. You're a danger on the road. So go ahead, Eddie.
So he's being.
I just wanted to make that. Sorry, I just wanted to make that clear because I know some people can be like, "That's not the law." That is the law. I'm sorry. That is the law.
Okay. So and then I was like, okay, so he's being put in the handcuffs, and what happens here? Boom. Okay, resisting arrest. Okay, so they're fighting. He gets taken to the floor, right? And then there's the taser, right?
I think we should just let this play out. Yeah. So he hasn't shot it yet, right? Based on the images here.
Not yet. And look,
so he grabs it.
What is Brooks doing? Trying to take the taser away from the cop, and they're still constantly all over the floor.
That's a strong guy. Look at him.
Yeah, look at him. He took the other cop with one hand. Look, I mean, come on. And now he's got the taser in his hand, punches the cop in the face, right? Trying to aim, and then so he aims it right here, and then
one shot.
This is like how many I looked at the shot like several times. So he's got the taser, right? He's trying to aim him with the taser. So even after then, the primary weapon was a taser, and then Brooks aims him with the taser. Now in Georgia law, a taser is a deadly weapon. Okay, so under Georgia law, Brooks is aiming with a deadly weapon and I forget his officer's name. So you're gonna see he's going after his handgun right here, and then boom. Oh, damn. Sorry, let me play that again. Right? And then he's already shot him right there. Let me replay that. And then, boom, it goes out the handgun, boom, 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 on the floor. And I'm like, okay. So you resisted arrest. You took the taser from the cop, right?
You fought him.
The taser at the cop. You fought the cop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so where in all this is the officer guilty? See, the DA is trying to bring all these charges against the officer, right, who shot Brooks. And I'm like, for what? What are you trying to charge him with? And then we find out that was like, because you didn't call the ambulance in 2 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding?
No, it's called, they didn't provide medical.
help for 2 minutes.
Medical health? No, medical. I have it right here. Hold on.
They didn't provide medical assistance. I think it was.
There you go, medical assistance. Oh, God, that's so easy. I can't believe I forgot.
Wait a minute. So, first of all, is it police brutality in this case? No. Okay. Is it racially motivated? No. Did the police officers act within Georgia law? Yes. So why are people protesting?
Why did they burn up the Wendy's?
Why do Atlanta PD officers have to call in sick, right? Because of situations like this. This is why I am an advocate and a strong advocate for body cams, because when we have the media trying to conduct a narrative that doesn't even exist, in this case, we have clear and concise evidence that he resisted arrest, he went after the taser, he aimed the taser, and the cop was justified in using force. And what happens? The DA is trying to prosecute a cop.
Because of the mob, because of the crowds.
The mob. And I'm like, this is the
protesters.
Don't tell me this was racially motivated, because the guy was knocked out in a Wendy's drive-thru, and the experience you saw, they were cordial. He was like, yeah, man, I'll do whatever you want. And I'm like, but as soon as you put the handcuffs on, all hands are off. All bets are off.
Cooperation goes out the window.
And I'm like, so who's to blame? And like, well, Eddie, they should have used the taser. You know what happens when you get tased? You're knocked out for 5 seconds. You can't move. So what happens? The guy can go for the gun. He can knock you out. He could hurt somebody else. He could steal a car. So many scenarios can play in those 5 seconds. So to charge this instance to this officer, right? I think they're going to try to trial him for murder. Even I think it was one of the charges. Like how's the grand jury going to convict him on murder? Georgia law says a taser is a deadly weapon. It's not just one officer's safety, it's the other officer that was running behind him as well. And then the safety of the people in that parking lot. So when I read all these comments, I'm like, what are you people even talking about? What if he uses a taser against one of those cars that's in the parking lot and steals that car? He's already drunk. So let's play that scenario. He's drunk. He hurts somebody. He gets on the road. He could hurt somebody else. Or he can kill himself. And now cops are calling off? Cops are calling off. Cops are putting in for resignations in other police departments. Why? Because we can't because the people think it's okay now to disrespect cops. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and that's a perfect, exactly. I mean, I still believe that he shouldn't have died, right? That's still a person shouldn't die after the confrontation. But in the situation and the way things played out in this situation, viewing from all different angles, I mean, he was not only a danger to himself, he was also a danger to the people around him and to the officers. So if people said, if the officers would have let him go, he said in the video, he says, I can just drive home. I live down the street. I'll go home. I won't do anything. We don't know what can happen between Wendy's and the ride home. We don't know how far he lives.
Exactly.
He could live 10, 20 minutes away. He could live 15 miles away. He could live 2 miles away. We don't know that. The police officers don't know that. Now, those who say, well, they could check his ID where his address is. Is that a current address? Right? I mean, how many times have we moved? Anyone has moved apartments or houses and they don't change the house address on the ID.
Right.
I mean, on my ID, I have a P.O. box address on my ID. Okay? It's not even a physical home address. So what am I doing? Drive to a P.O. box as my home address? No, right? So those who say
people who argue that don't understand that anything can happen between him driving from Wendy's to his home. We don't know how far he lives. We don't know what kind of speed he's going to take. We don't know how traffic's going to be. He's going to be a danger on the road. And that's the first reason they arrest you when you're driving under the influence. It literally is. You're a danger to the road. You're a danger to the people around you if you continue to drive under the influence. Now, to the people who argue that they should let him run, like Eddie said, you don't know what can happen to him when you're running. You don't know. Like Eddie said, he can trip. He can hurt someone else. He can get hit by a car. He can cause an accident. He can fall in a ditch. He can trip and hit his head and be unconscious, right? You don't know what's going to happen when he runs away. You don't know. Based on the video footage, we don't know what's around. And I've been to Georgia, right? I've been to Georgia. And I went to a friend's wedding out in the countryside. And towards the countryside, there's a lot of fields. It's a lot of grass. It's not like here in California. It's a whole different, it's nice out there. But the setup of the cities and towns is not like here in California. We have a lot of concrete, a lot of roads, a lot of lighting. There's still a lot of, country stuff in Georgia. You have buildings hiding behind trees and buildings, a lot of trees, a lot of green that you can easily get lost in it if you're not careful. But that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is that you don't know what can happen. We don't know if he falls in a ditch, trips. There's a lot of things that can happen to himself and still be a danger to the people around him. He could run and a car not see him and hit him, kills him, run over by a car, right? He can trip and bump his head and knock out, right? He can have a seizure. He can have a bleeding in his head. He can, like Eddie said, get in another car and steal another car to get away, or use a taser gun to hurt someone else. Or maybe he won't hurt someone else. Let's just leave that argument out. But what's the potential accidents that can happen to his own life and to the lives of others? And we don't know. I'll let him run. He would have been stopped by the police. We don't know. What if he would have ran left instead of right, or maybe right instead of left? We don't know from what direction the cops were coming from, which street they were using. Maybe he could have crossed the street and run into the woods. We don't know where he could have gone. It's a lot of danger behind that. So the people who argue, let him run, he would have been home safe. We don't know. Maybe he had to run 10 miles. Maybe he has to run 3 miles. Can he run that much? We don't know. And those who argue that they should use a taser gun, well, one of them was already out. He stole it from one of the officers to begin with. The second officer has a taser gun. He shoots it once, right? He shoots it back at him. He needs to reload his taser gun again in order to shoot another shot. right? But his decision at the moment was to use the lethal weapon, right? If you look at the video, the officers couldn't even tase him. They were trying to tase him, and he couldn't even do that. He was able to take the taser off the first officer, right, and use it against them, while the second officer still had his taser gun, if you look at the video closely, until he chased after him. And it looks like he shot the taser. It didn't get to him. Instead of reloading the taser, he got the weapon. So a lot of things could happen there. He could probably reloaded the taser, but you don't know in those 5-10 seconds where he could have run. I just don't know.
Cam,
The only thing is that
you can go and days and days and days and days try to figure out how to justify, how to unjustify. The point is, the thing that everybody needs to consider is, did the cops act within accordance of Georgia law? Did they supersede their authority to do any of all that? And the answer is absolutely 100% in this case, no. No, they didn't.
as of right now, yes.
And
we'll see what the defense says.
And watch. And I'm telling you right now, I can call it. The grand jury is not going to indict this guy. And then what's going to happen? You're going to riot again?
And let's say they do indict him. What's going to be the outcome of the court?
And then and then they do indict him.
The jury.
Under what? Under what? Like yeah. So either way, right? But it's just look at it. In this case, I say no. We can go days for days, but we got to leave it at that because we got to get to the last time.
DUIs
movements. Let's talk about
BLM.
the cancel culture that's going on in America today.
Oh God, it's cancel culture.
Okay, so here's my deal. What is okay? But okay, we're gonna get into the debates because I just debate already. You guys went after Aunt Jemima. You guys went after Uncle Ben. And by you guys, I mean the crazies in the left, because that's what I'm calling you now. I don't have respect for anybody like those mob bulls in the left. I'm sorry. So those in the left. Not liberals, okay? Those in the left. There's a difference. I've come to the conclusion that, yes, there is a difference. So those two in the left, they want to cancel everything. You went after Aunt Jemima. You went after Paw Patrol. You went after Uncle Ben. You went after Winston Churchill. You went after Lincoln. You went after the 54th Massachusetts mural. You went after the Baldwin statue in Philadelphia, Mr. Baldwin, by the way, was an emancipationist. You basically want to cancel anything that remotely deals with the racist past of America. What will that do? What will that do?
That is the greatest question.
What will that do? Is that going to make our communities better tomorrow? Is that going to end things that are affecting the community, like education, poverty rates, drug use, crime, all these other things? What is eliminating the past gonna do? And that's what I was talking to Jaime. And Jaime's gonna get his 2 cents in a second, but I was like, by me knowing what happened in the past, that makes me a better person today. And I'm not talking about keeping statues, but I need to know what happened in the past and trying to eliminate it and to try this narrative that America, was not that great and all that. You're trying to rewrite history. No, let's leave history as is. That's why it's history. That's how you become a better person. That's how you become a better society, because you look at the mistakes in the past, right? You're just trying to shame it. It happened. We get it. It was bad. But how is America supposed to grow from that? And you trying to protect people on the basis of color, gender, whatever it is now these days. It makes people soft. It doesn't make people even ask the right questions. It doesn't make people question how to make society better. I don't understand this, Jaime. I don't understand. I mean, you went after pancake syrup. And just because the Aunt Jemima, and I forget her real name, the lady's real name, she was a slave owner that became the face or the face of Aunt Jemima. It became the image of Aunt Jemima's pancakes and syrup and so forth. I'm like, help me understand this, Jaime, because I don't understand it.
Just the mammy. Well, that's a good question. The thing is that they're trying to promote anything that continues to represent racism in America, right? So even Land O'Lakes got rid of its Native American girl. Okay, now you got like you said, Uncle Tom, right? The food that's
Uncle
getting
Ben.
removed.
Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben, sorry.
Tom.
Sorry, Uncle Tom. I'm sorry. Terrible. Oh God. Sorry, Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben. Uncle Tom is a story of slavery. That's a whole different guy. Sorry, I do apologize. Uncle Ben, right? That's food.
Right.
Okay, so this is the reasoning behind it, right? Because this cancel culture has been going on for a lot, and I remember learning this in college, right? When we talked about minorities. It was what was it called? A Chicano studies class and all that stuff. Then it's going around the same storyline. Pretty much is that there's racist stereotypes that make a certain race look bad and makes them look. It gives them a pejorative view, right? So the Aunt Jemima, the black woman called Aunt Jemima on the syrup, it gives that whole mammy image of the black woman in the South who stayed in the kitchen, right? Who all she was good for was to be working in the kitchen as a slave or after the war as a housemaid, right? A house servant. So if you think of the movie The Butler, right? If you guys see that movie The Butler, right? The main character is a butler. He grows up to be a butler and ends up in the White House, right? If you guys think of that, it's pretty much that image of like that, according to the council culture of racist suppression, right? Of that racist demeaning of life that they have to be that person, So since that brings up that past, we got to remove it because it's racist. The fact, like Eddie says, that it happened. Was it unfortunate? Yes. Was it wrong? Yes. Was it racist? Yes. Right? But why going to something that became a staple in American households? One person I was talking at the grocery store, actually, and he happened to be black. I know I haven't tell you the story, Eddie, but I just forgot until now. We're talking about Aunt Jemima. He literally said that Aunt Jemima should be a pride because it's become a trusted brand in American households. And what brought that trusted brand was not a white lady. People didn't trust a white lady. People didn't trust Betty Crocker. They trusted Aunt Jemima. That made you feel like a home. That made you feel welcome. That made you feel loved. That made you feel taken care of. This is from an older black man at the grocery store. I should got his number. I should got his information. But he literally said that. To prove it, I don't have video. I should have recorded the conversation because I know you guys would probably think I'm crazy. But that's what he said. That Aunt Jemima should be pride of the black should not pride, but should not be taken that serious by blacks.
Right.
Because in his words was, it brought a trust in the brand. A black face became a trusted brand.
But for me,
and I was just like, I never saw it that way.
When I was reading the history, this lady went from being a slave to the image of a household American brand. So like, there's progress just in her story alone. You go
yeah,
from
you could say that. Yeah, you could say that.
From slave to being a household image. For me, Latinos are like, hey, que es el añimaima con la miel y los pancakes. And like, you understand? She was no longer a slave. She was a free woman, and she's an image of an American staple. And just because she was a slave for I don't know how many years, you're just trying to incorporate that part. What about the part where she became a free woman? What about the part where she became a staple? What about the part, like you just said in your encounter with the black gentleman, a trusted black label?
Yeah, he said that. You trust that black lady because you feel at home. You feel like mama is taking care of you. But you're like, well, I didn't think about that.
But it's just everything now, Jaime. It's like the Florida Gators are trying to change the name because I don't know, something with it has the Florida Gator mascot has racist history. Well, like, okay, what about the Kansas City Chiefs, the contending Super Bowl winners?
I think there's still a debate on that one, no?
Yeah, but I mean, have you seen like like they do the chants like that, and like with the Indians, I mean, what about the Washington Redskins? I mean, there's so many things.
Oh, Redskins is kind of racist.
Well, that's the name of the team, though, right?
Yeah, it's true. And I guess that whole mascot idea that I what was the discussion we had earlier? Is just that. Well, the discussion me and Eddie had earlier before we started recording was, should I go to that part, Eddie, or should we just? I want to talk about that.
No.
No, because it's like, I get it's racist. Like we have the tapatio guy, right? For Mexicans or Latinos, we have the mustache, charro hat, right? Tapatio. I don't think Mexicans see that as, oh, that's all I'm worth is charro and mustache. That's my worth.
Right.
I don't think Latinos see themselves as that. And the people who going after these labels, I guess either they don't have a good self-esteem, or they're letting that affect them to the point where they need to get rid of it in order for them to be successful. I don't think, and there's individuals who use that as a racial way, like, oh, you're an Aunt Jemima, as racist, let's just say, right? Or you're a tapatio, right? As racist, I guess that's bad. Right. But those people who use that, those individuals are racist. But for the whole society to say, oh, all Mexicans are tapatio guys, I don't think no one thinks. I think the majority of Americans don't think like that. I don't think majority of Americans believe that all black women are like Aunt Jemima. Right? I don't think a majority of Americans believe that, Uncle Ben is, all black men are like Uncle Ben, right? I don't think they see that. And there's a small percentage of people who might use those labels as racist and to attack race, but those are individuals. Like we see those videos of people saying, go back to your country and speak English. Those are individuals who are just being racist.
Can I just throw in the wrench right here? Why is nobody going after Cracker Jacks?
Because it's white, and white people aren't going to get mad about it.
That's my point. You see what I mean? But I think.
But that's not the left is going to say that's not the class who were suppressed. Those people weren't suppressed by supremacy.
The thing is, Jaime, like
that's the argument.
I know, but it's like, stop trying to embody us in this victim, to be victim figures of I don't know, make us victims all the time. We're in 2020. Slavery,
I guess what you're saying is that no longer affects us. No longer
applies. It's over.
That happened years ago.
We, for the people that will talk about progress, always seem to be stuck in the past. And here we are saying in 2020, you could be anything you're capable of being. Okay? If you put the heart in and work effort, you could be whatever it is you want to be. You stop trying to paint Latinos as immigrants. Stop trying to paint Black people as victims of police brutality or former slaves. Stop trying to paint Asians as railroad workers. Stop trying to paint white people as oppressors. That in America, it has gotten better over the last 100 and some odd years that it's been since, from the Civil War to segregation through all the Chinese Exclusion Act, through all these things, right? It's gotten better.
And there's a lot of things that can be improved. I do agree.
That's what I'm saying. It's gotten
better. But the thing is that society is not treating you different because of your color. It's not like in the 60s and the 70s which is pretty much our grandparents, right? Even my mom was born in the 60s, so even my parents' generation, you could say that they had systematic racism where like you literally had black and white and separate but equal, right? It's clear as day as light. Now there's disadvantages in other parts because system failed in different ways, but that you're treated differently because of the color of your skin, in my opinion, if that's true, I would have to say that's pretty much TV. I want to blame the TV. I really want to blame TV because they gave us those stereotypes or that assumption that everyone is like this. Right. And the television in Hollywood, the liberal Hollywood, the ones who stand up there and preach about social injustices, during the Oscars, are the same people who are making these movies and TV shows where Black man is a villain, or Mexican is a villain, or Asian is a villain, Muslim is a villain, right? So I want to blame the television on that. But even in the day-to-day basis, it's kind of hard. Like, no one's telling you can't come in the store because you're Black or you're Mexican. Or No one's telling you can't buy that car because only black people drive Cadillacs. They don't drive Hondas. Right? Or, you're Mexican, so you only got to drive Chevys, but you can't buy a Dodge. No one's doing that. Right? No one's doing that. And I get you're saying, Eddie. You're saying that, hey, don't use the victim mentality. And I agree, don't use the victim mentality, right? Because, like, Tapatio, man, doesn't affect me. That's Tapatio, man. I don't care. It's Mexican. I mean, before you know it, they're going to come after Abuelita, for goodness sake, because it's
I totally forgot about Abuelita, man.
Because it's racist against Latina grandmas, because, it shows Latina grandmas, and they're happy to be white. Like, who cares?
Are they going to come
after the brand that we trusted, and they use Abuelita, and we're happy with it. We're not complaining.
What about the chancla? Are they going to ban sandals?
Well, like, let's see what's another Mexican brand that's really famous. That could be considered racist. I don't know. We have Tapatio guy. We have La Abuelita. Who else do we have? Juana. The canned food. The canned food. Yeah. Juanitas. Yes. We're gonna get rid of Juanitas because it's stereotypical Mexican. A lady with, like, showing her shoulders. You have a little slight, cleavage and submission of a woman. We're gonna get rid of Juanita's brand. I don't think no one cares about
Juanitas too, man. Look at
Juanitas. So I don't know, Eddie. I don't know. This cancel culture is kind of like,
it's ridiculous. You know what this reminds me of? This is 1984, man. See, every time I deal with it, it's 1984, right? And there's this part in 1984 where I think it's breakfast. I don't know what it is, but they're having a meal. And they're talking about the dictionary and how the dictionary is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and to perfect the language, right? The language that is being allowed by the party. They take away words that can offend, words that can question the party, words that can make you smart, words that can do this. And they're canceling the language. And I remember they said that the next edition of the Newspeak dictionary was going to be about that thick.
Sheesh.
So is that what we're trying to do? We're going to eliminate to we're the perfect society, because that sounds utopian to me. And if you don't know, and when you hear the word utopian, you know where I'm going with this, right? So I'm
disaster.
And that's where I'm like, dude, you have to accept what happened in the past to make yourself better. Okay. So for us that we're here today, we look at the past and learn from those mistakes and we move on. But we don't lose pride in our country. We don't condemn our country. I mean, we make our country better. We're the next generation, and the next generation has to make it better than that. But what I'm seeing with this time is we're going backwards, dude. We're going backwards.
And I totally agree, especially with the progressive, right? Like, it shows how we're progressing as a society. We used to have slavery, we got rid of it. We that's how it used to be, and we learn from it. So you don't have a timeline of progress, right? How do we get from this to here, right? How did we go from slavery to now? How do we go from civil rights to now? How do we go from, laws and social changes to now, right? If you want to remove all the negative stuff from the past and get rid of all the racist stuff and just, never, get rid of it because it's racial and it's insensitive, you don't have a marker saying we went from this mentality of society to this, and we're progressing and we're doing better. Right. That society back in the day thought that way. That was their thought. Was it wrong based on our knowledge? Yes. Down the road, 100 years from now, the future generations are going to judge us. And today's, we think we're just, we think we're social justice warriors. We think we're doing the right thing. 100 years from now, they can think that what we're doing now, the lefties, is bad and stupid. And the work you're doing now, and the marching you're doing now, and the progress of work you're doing now, what if future generations decide that what we did now and the progress we achieved now is stupid? It should be eliminated. It should be removed from the books. We should never count them serious. We should just, because they had flaws, because they had mistakes, because they didn't do it 100% correct. Yeah. We're doing a lot now for the future generations, and for them to be like, you guys suck. It's like, then what the hell did we fight for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, Where's the progressive points? Yes, there was racism. Yes, as close as 1970s, which is pretty much, some of our uncles, some of our grandparents' generations, some of our parents' generation were still alive. That still existed. And yes, that wasn't that long ago, like slavery, but segregation existed not that far long ago, relatively speaking. But no one's telling you can't go to this school because you're black. No one's telling you can't go to this place because you're black. No one's telling you can't be a doctor because you're black. No one's telling you can't be a lawyer because you're Hispanic. No one's telling you can't be a judge because you're Hispanic. No one's saying that. Right? Everyone has the equal opportunity to do it.
Don't we have a Supreme Court justice of both groups right now in the court?
Yeah, we have a black Supreme Court justice. We have a Latina Supreme Court justice.
Appointed for life, eh?
For life, ese. So it's kind of like, yeah, like Eddie says, I agree with Eddie. Where do you see the progress? What do you say, hey, this is what they thought before? These are what the leaders thought before in the past. It was wrong. It was insensitive. But that's the context of their time frame. No one's going to the Romans and saying, oh, let's destroy Roman history because, they just, savaged and attacked everyone they conquered.
But the thing too is that every generation, including from those past ones, fought to make it better. This generation is fighting to go back to that, and I'm like, and I don't mean like supremacy based on skin, but supremacy based on thought and available to speak. Back to that censoring. The progressive left is more like a regressive left. You're going back to everything that's censoring and everything that doesn't allow you to speak your mind. Those are the things that generation fought for that led us to here, and you're going back to that. And that's why I can't stand the left right now, because you guys are taking away everything that you're claiming to fight for.
There you go. That's exactly. Like you're becoming the same. You're slowly becoming the thing you're fighting against.
It's like Obi-Wan. It's like, that scene with
there you go.
Yeah. You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. Yeah, that's you guys. that's you right there. You're Anakin.
You have become what you fought, what you were against. How does it say?
Like, you became what you swore to destroy.
There you go.
That's the line in Star Wars. And that's you guys on the left. You guys are
you're becoming that.
You're becoming the George Orwell 1984. You're becoming that fascist regime that you guys are fighting against. You honestly, you can't even take Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben's rice, man. I'm done.
Which become a trusted brand.
I'm done.
Yeah. So if you feel there's this comedian, I forgot his name, who said that if you feel offended by some stereotypes, then you're stupid. Right. And this was Carlos Mencia. There you go. Carlos Mencia said this one.
That guy. Who he stole that joke from?
I don't know who he stole it from, but I just remember he said it. And one of his, he said the Taco Bell dog. I remember the Taco Bell dog. Yo quiero Taco Bell. I remember that. I saw that on TV.
Dog would have been off TV by now.
That's he's off TV because of that whole stereotype.
Oh, was that? Oh man.
That's why he's no longer on TV. Oh. Because that was offensive to Mexican raza. That was during the whole Chicano and the Mecha movements of the 90s and and we got some of it. We got some of it in high school. And so the comedian, I don't know who he stole it from, but pretty much Carlos Mencia said that. Because I remember him saying it, because that's the person I said. Who he stole it from, I don't know, but I remember him saying it. That if you feel that the talking Chihuahua sounds and looks like you, then you're stupid, right? Because it's a Chihuahua who can talk. How badass is that? Chihuahua who can talk, right? Yeah. And if you feel that resembles you and you feel offended by it, then you're stupid. Now, I'm not trying to say people are stupid. Now, I'm not trying to say that, Aunt Jemima, if you feel that resembles you, if you feel that resembles you, you need to reevaluate your self-esteem, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you think that Uncle Ben's rice resembles you and that says that that's speaking of you, then you should really evaluate your self-esteem. Yeah. Just like some Latinos don't see Tapatio Man as, oh, that resembles me and that's offensive to me because I feel it resembles me, then Latinos wouldn't be the hard workers or the people who go out there and work and try to hustle, right? They would be stuck at home being, oh, I'm a Tapatio guy. That's who I am. I can't do that. that's a different issue. You have to pretty much evaluate your self-esteem, where you stand, how you view yourself. Because
oh man,
it's just that's how I can say right now. You really have to evaluate. If you really feel that says that's you, and you feel that brand says this is what you are and this is what you're only capable of, then you really are missing the mark of progress.
oh man, you know what? I don't know if that just came to my head. Maybe DACA supporters should have Tapatio bottles next time. Just playing.
But yeah, because it's like,
I mean, is that what you want to see?
It's a lot of things that a lot of self-help books, a lot of psychologists and think positive mentalities and think positive speakers and public speakers say. You have to challenge yourself to be better. You have to challenge yourself to be what you want to be and work hard towards it. A lot of self-help books say that. A lot of public speakers, motivational speakers say that, and they teach that, and they motivate people to think that way. And to think that you're because you're black, the only thing you're good for is to be a house servant, because Aunt Jemima has that as a brand and a picture, then you really are focusing somewhere else, right? Your mind is somewhere else, and that's my opinion.
Oh, you're right.
Because like literally, you can become anything you want to be, right? There's gonna be obstacles. Yes, there's gonna be obstacles. Are they gonna be easy? No, it's not gonna be easy. Nothing's easy in life, right? Nothing in life is easy, right? Nothing in life is easy. Everything costs. You gotta work hard for it, right? Me included. I gotta work hard for stuff that I want to achieve. I gotta work. Eddie included. You guys included, right? But to say that you can't achieve anything because there's a Aunt Jemima bottle with a black lady on there, and you can't achieve anything else because that's there and it's hindering your progress, then your vision is in the wrong place.
And we'll just wrap it up there, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of MM Talk. Hope you enjoyed it. Please always remember to like, subscribe, share, leave your comments below. Any questions, anything, you can always DM us on these social platforms. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. I hope to see you guys next week. With that, we're your host, Eddie Marmolejo.
And Jaime Moreno.
This is MM Talk, and remember, we're tired
of it too.